Good morning, students. Today we are going to start with lesson 1 of history, that is where, when, and how. Now, history is divided into periods so that it is convenient to study its political, social, and economic changes which has been going on during specific time spans. So, that division of history into periods is called periodization. Now, history is generally divided into three periods: ancient period, that you have already done in the 6th standard; medieval period, which we will do now in this book; and modern period, you will do next year in the 8th standard book. In ancient period, the rulers, they were having their permanent armies and they paid to their soldiers in cash. They were paying the salaries to the soldiers in cash, and ruler was having the total control over their subjects. Subjects means जो राजा की प्रजा होती है, that are called subjects, and ruler was having the absolute control over the subjects and the land within their kingdom. However, these rulers, they were ruling according to the Rajya Dharma or on the advice of the Council of Ministers. In medieval period, there was slight change in the administrative system, and medieval period began from 8th century till the 18th century, nearly 1100 years. So there were changes in the political and administrative system in this medieval period. Now in this period, the rulers were giving the salaries to the army and administrative officers not in cash, but they were paying the salaries through the land grants. They were giving the land in grant to the army and administrative officers. It means that ruler was only the owner. Other all rights over the land were given to the person whom the land was granted. For example, the revenue was collected by the person who was given the land from that particular area, which was the land which was granted to him. He was only collecting the revenue from the land. Ruler was not having any right over the revenue, he was only the owner. Then there were subordinate chiefs. Who were the subordinate chiefs? Those who were under the control of the king. They were the subordinate chiefs. They were also called feudatory chiefs or samantas. They were supporting the king at different times whenever king needed. If there was a war, they were helping the king by providing him troops of soldiers so that the king can win the battle. And they were also paying tributes or taxes to the king to show that they are loyal to him. Loyal means wafadar. So to show that they were loyal to the king, they were doing all these activities. But some of them rebelled against the king. Rebelled means withdraw kar dena. So they rebelled against the king to establish their independence. They wanted to be independent from the control of the king, and some of them, they have become independent and they grew very powerful. This situation once again underwent significant change. There was again a change in this the system in the 18th century. What happened in the 18th century? European trading countries, they came to India to do trade, and there were so many European countries, powers like Portuguese, Dutch, English, French. So they all came to have trade with India, and they all became rivals of each other. Rivals means dushman. So they became rivals of each other. This period of 18th century, from 18th century onwards, the period is called the modern period, when the British came to India. So that period is called the modern period in India. Now we will study about the medieval period in this chapter. In medieval period in the Indian history, there were many variety of developments. New technologies were developed, like the Persian wheel was invented for irrigation. Irrigation means watering the fields. Spinning wheel was invented for weaving, and firearms were invented for combat. Combat means when two armies fight with each other. Not only this, some people from other places came to our country and they introduced their new food items and beverages. Those who came from outside, they were having their own food habits and beverages. Beverages means drinks. So they introduced their own food items and beverages in our country, and they also brought many new ideas with them. So what was the result? There were so many economic, political, social and cultural changes in our country. Along with all these changes, there was a change in the religion of Hinduism also. Now, many new deities were worshipped. Deities means Bhagwan. They were worshipped, or Murti Puja. The king and the rich people, they constructed temples to establish these deities, and the importance was given to Brahmins. The importance of Brahmins increased in the society, especially in the South India. Along with this, a new religion emerged in our country, that was Islam, and this religion was brought by the merchants and traders who came to India. They brought the teachings of Holy Quran to India in the 7th century. When Muslims ruled over our country, they made many changes in the Indian society. They were religiously tolerant because most of their subjects or their people were Hindus, so they were religiously tolerant. Religiously tolerant means that they treated all the religions equally. So these new situations, they gave rise to Bhakti movement and Sufism in the Hindu and Muslim societies respectively. Now medieval period is also studied in three groups, three heads. First of all, the rise of new social and political groups that we will study in the next chapter. Then Delhi Sultanate, which was between 12th to early 16th century. Mughal rule, 16th century to early 18th century. So this all the topics we will study one by one in different chapters. Geographical framework of Hindustan. Now Hindustan was called by different names in the historical parts. The historians of medieval period who had given their first hand account of the Indian society generally referred to India as Hindustan. They called India as Hindustan, but here the term Hindu did not mean you can say religion. Here the term Hindu meant the eastern region of river Indus. Here the Hindu did not meant the religious identity of a person. Then Arabs, they called this region Al Hind, and the people living in this region were called Hindi. Later on, Turks called the people of East as Hindu, and the land on which they were living was called as Hindustan, and the language which they spoke was called Hindavi. Then a very famous poet, Amir Khusro, he used the word Hind in his texts and verses Verses means poems. He used the term Hindustan to denote a nation. He did not use the term Hindustan to denote the whole nation as it is in modern time, because he did not include South India in his description. South India was not included by him in the term Hindustan. When Babur attacked India in 1526 AD, he wrote his autobiography. Autobiography means when a person writes his own story himself, that is called autobiography. So Babur wrote his autobiography and he used the term Hindustan to describe the geography and natural vegetation of the subcontinent. Now, from where do the historians get all this information of the medieval period? Or you can say, what are the sources of information from where this information is collected by the historians? So, the sources are literary sources, archaeological sources, then cartography, and cultural resources. So we will study all one by one. First of all, we'll study cartography. What do you mean by cartography? It is a technique of making maps or charts. The earliest maps in the Indian history, in medieval Indian history, were produced in 12th century by famous Arab geographer. What was his name? Al-Idrisi. He was a cartographer also and he was a geographer also. So he produced the first map. In Al-Idrisi's map, South India is where we would expect to find North India, and Sri Lanka is the island at the top. So some well-known places are clearly marked in Arabic, like Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh. Another map was made by French cartographer in 1720s. It shows the Indian subcontinent in modern context with coastal areas very well defined as compared to the interiors. So the coastal areas are defined well rather than the interior. We find a lot of difference in the two mentioned maps of India, although they are showing the same geographical region during the medieval period. When modern historians read such maps, as also the documents and text from the past, they have to study very minutely all these documents and maps to come to the conclusion, and so that they can give a relevant information to us. Next source of information are chronological literary sources, and in literary sources we study chronicles and travelogues. Chronicles were written records of events which were written by the court historians. Now rulers were appointing court historians to write all the events in sequence. All the events were written in proper order, what has happened. So that written record of those events is called a chronicle. Travelogues were also written like a chronicle. The travelers who came to India, like famous Arab traveler Al-Baruni, he wrote Tariq-e-Hind in 11th century. Then Ziauddin Barani, he wrote Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, and Minhas Chronicle with the same name, etc., are good examples of reliable chronicles for the study of medieval Indian history. The authors of Mughal chronicles. Mughal emperors also appointed some court historians to write the chronicles, so they provide very important information to study about the empire and court of the Mughals. So the authors of Mughal chronicles were always courtiers, and they were writing only about the ruler, his family, the court, and nobles wars, and administrative arrangements. So their whole work was focused on the ruler. So some of the examples are Akbarnama, which was a story of Akbar; Shah Jahan Nama, the story of Shah Jahan; Alamgir Nama, story of Alamgir. So these were the examples of the chronicles which were written for the Mughal emperors. Among the European travelers, some of the travelers came from European countries. They also wrote valuable accounts about the different reigns of the medieval Indian rulers. Reigns means Raj. The Indian rulers who was ruling at that time, they have written about their rule in their written accounts. For example, Marco Polo, he came from Italy. He wrote about the Indian rulers. Bernier, who came from France, and William Hawkins and Sir Thomas Roy, who came from England, they have given a valuable written accounts of the reigns of medieval Indian rulers. Next literary sources are documents and literature. A farman, which was a royal order, the order which was given by the king was called a farman. It can be also called the official letter of information or message. And this information or message could be for any one particular person which was concerned to that message, or it could be for any office or for general people. So this, it also provides a useful information to the historians for writing on the medieval India. During the Sultanate and Mughal period, the state maintained some diplomatic relations with other countries or kings of distant kings. Now, they were this Mughal Sultan, during the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal period, the rulers were having, the kings were having diplomatic relations with the other countries. Diplomatic means they were having tactful relations with the other countries, and these relations are also this information about the relation can be collected from the official letters, and they give important details about the foreign policy of the concerned rulers, what type of foreign policies these rulers were adopting. So that could be known from the official letters which were sent to each other. There were some other important literary works also which can improve our knowledge about this period. So these were the writings of some scholars, poets, philosophers, and musicians, which were appointed by the, or you can say sponsored by the most of the rulers. They were sponsoring certain scholars, poets, philosophers, and musicians in their courts. Some examples of these are Chand Bardai, who wrote Prithvi Rajaraso. In this writing, the praise of Prithvi Raj is done. Then is Malti Madhava. It was written by Bhavabhuti. Sharanga Deva wrote a book called Sangeet Ratnakar. The most original work in philosophy was that of Adi Shankaracharya. Vaghabhatta, who was a famous physician, he wrote Ashtanga Sangraha, and Bhaskaracharya, who was a famous astronomer, he wrote Siddhant Shiromani. There are large number of secular works also, secular works which are other than religious literature. They were also written during the Delhi Sultanate and Mughal period. They also give us valuable information about the culture, about the society, and about the economic practices during that period. So these were all literary sources from where the historians collected the information of this medieval period. The next sources are archaeological sources. Archaeological sources, if you remember, you have done in 6th standard, the information which is collected from the remains or the buildings of the ancient period. So these include material remains like monuments and buildings, and the coins. The coins issued during various periods, the kings were issuing the coins during their reign, so that they carried lot of details about the period of a rule of a particular ruler, that from what we can know that how much time that particular ruler ruled. We can get the images of the ruler on the coins, and we can also get the dates of the certain, we can also uh, get the images of certain gods minted on the coins, and we can also know the type of metal which was used by the kings to mint the coins. Many rulers and dynasties of the medieval period, dynasties means khandan, so they were great builders also. They constructed many palaces, forts, temples, mosques, tombs, and even astronomical observatories like Jantar Mantars in Jaipur and Delhi. From that time, a number of magnificent buildings, magnificent means beautiful buildings, were constructed that marked the emergence of Indo Islamic architecture. Red Fort and Jama Masjid in Delhi and Taj Mahal and Agra Fort at Agra are examples of the great Mughal style of architecture. Architecture means a plan of building anything. Architect, who is architect? Who makes a plan of any building, and the art of making a plan is called architecture. So the examples of the great Mughal style of architecture are Red Fort and Jama Masjid in Delhi and Taj Mahal and Agra Fort at Agra. Palaces and structures constructed during the Sultanate period also show the unique architectural achievements of the Sultanate period. Temple architecture developed during the rule of Cholas. When the Cholas were ruling, that time the temple architecture was developed. The temples were built during that time. The inscriptions of Hindu rulers of Orissa. Do you remember, students, what are inscriptions? You have done in the 6th standard. Inscriptions are the engraving, writings engraved on the walls of temples, copper plates, etc. So the inscriptions of Hindu rulers of Orissa, the Deccan, and the South India are usually found on the temple walls and the copper plates, recording the grant of land or gifts, give valuable information about the concerned regions. The Gwalior inscription of Bhoja I gives a detailed account of the achievement of kings before him. So in these inscriptions, mostly the achievements of the kings were written, or the grants which they were giving, the land grants which they were giving, and whatever achievements were made by the king, that were written in those inscriptions. Then is elsewhere in the world around the same time, Feudal Age. So during this medieval period, at the same time, what was happening in the other world? So medieval period in Europe refers to the period in European history between 5th and the 15th centuries. So when as in our country the medieval period was from 8th to 18th century, the same way the medieval period in Europe was between the 5th and the 15th century. This age in Europe was also called feudal age. Why? Because the king granted fiefs to his nobles. Fiefs means lands to his nobles. These nobles were called dukes. Each duke granted some of that land to the barons, and the barons were further giving some of the land to the knights. Now there were three categories of feudal lords here, and they took an oath. वो कसम खाते थे that they will be loyal to the king, and they promised to pay a share of their revenue to the king. Whatever revenue was collected from by these three feudal lords from the land, they were giving a share of that revenue to the king, as well as they were also providing military services to the king during the times of war. In their estate, the lords functioned as the lord of manor or his palace. He was the lord of his palace, you can say, and he allowed his people, mostly peasants, to cultivate the lands in return for the taxes and services. So instead of paying taxes and services, the peasants were allowed to cultivate the lands. So with this, we finish with this chapter. I hope everything is clear to you. So have a good day, students.